Hi, this video is addressed to the youth of Canada who are suffering from the sky-high housing prices, be it detached home, townhome, or a condo. This is March 2021. It seems like there is no hope for future as one can never buy a place, have to pay very high rents entire life, not saving any money at all, a few checks away from being living in a tent, either in near future or somewhere down the road in our lives, particularly if they are in Greater Vancouver area or Greater Toronto area, which are two major hubs of population and jobs in Canada. Why is it addressed to youth? Because they are likely to take some action to correct this situation, whereas older generation generally compromises with it as their fate, since they have too many burdens of life on them, like raising their families, kids, paying off existing mortgage, etc. But they are welcome too to join us. I will decipher what are the causes of sky-high prices and how to stop and reverse them. And it's not too hard to do it, as you will see next. In summary, our government has sold our houses and land to foreign investors and continue to sell as we speak. So both foreign investors and our government are responsible for it. You will see how and why. It started around 2002 when I was renting in Vancouver. A decent single family home was around $250,000. Then they suddenly started to rise. 300,000 to 350,000 to 400,000 to 500 to 600 to 700 to 800. Around by the time 2009 came, it's sitting at 800,000, and that's when great housing recession happened in the US. Average US house price had reached around 500,000 in US at the peak, and it was considered very dangerous level, such that it crashed their entire housing market and the entire world along with it. Their house prices reduced by 50% and stayed there for many years. And what happened in Greater Vancouver area? A quick dip by 10% for a month or two in January 2009, and then off to the races again. Currently in 2021, they sit at around 2 million each. That is eightfold rise since 2002. 250,000 to 2 million. That's 700% rise. Salaries have not even gone up by 100%. That is why Canadians in Greater Vancouver and Greater Toronto area have been priced out of the housing market, even if mortgage rate is 0%. For example, if you pay your mortgage $2,000 a month, that is $24,000 a year, which is quite a bit. It will take you 42 years to pay for a $1 million townhome, and that's 0% interest. With 3-4% interest, it will take you 80 years to pay off. So this price explosion did not stay only in Vancouver, but spread to all the towns and cities in Greater Vancouver like Burnaby, New Westminster, Richmond, Coquitlam, Surrey, Langley, Abbotsford, Mission, Chilliwack, and Hope, like a wildfire. And Hope is the last city of Greater Vancouver after Interior BC starts, so that's where it ended. So if one could afford a house in Vancouver in 2002, by 2009 you could afford only a townhome. And by 2021, you could afford only a condo. And I bet another few years and we can only afford a tent. In 2002, we used to have realtors of different national origins: white, East Indian, Chinese, Filipinos, Iranians, and all other national backgrounds representing Canadian population. But during this price explosion, All other numbers went down and replaced by 1. Currently, I see 9 out of 10 realtors are of one national origin. That is not a problem in itself, but a symptom of the problem, which is that every house on the market is expected to be bought by a mainland Chinese investor. So people use the same national origin realtor so they can better relate to the prospective buyer and get them top dollars. Common Canadians working and living here have been priced out of the market, including all my Chinese friends. I'm also doing it for them, and especially for them, as they are double victims. I have a friend, Tassie Chan, who waited many years to buy a house. Finally, she gave up and bought a small condo where she lives with her partner. She wants to start a family, but the small size of condo does not permit it. So that's what it is doing to Canadians. Right now, when a house comes to the market, it is between a local seller and a foreign buyer. I and you are not in the equation to buy, as it is way outside our pay grade. And it's supposed to be our country. Government is allowing this because they have vested interest in it. And here is how they have vested interest. Governments, i.e. MPs and MLAs, they're elected for one term and they want to get re-elected to extend their term. Call it their job security. So government does everything to look good to get re-elected. One of the major criteria of measurement of government's performance is how the GDP is doing. GDP is gross domestic products, i.e. all the goods produced in a country. They want to show positive GDP growth to make people feel that they are doing well economically. But perhaps our government is not smart enough, not entrepreneurial enough, and not prudent enough to grow GDP by legitimate ways, where all country population participates and gets better off. So they have found an alternative way to grow GDP without benefiting Canadians. Instead, at Canadians' expense. And that is to sell Canada to foreigners, piece by piece. And who else is vested interest in it? Well, of course, real estate industry, who always make very sweet statements that it's good time to buy now, it's low mortgage rates, there are strong fundamentals, there's shortage of housing, get into the game, while fully knowing from inside the real buyers are sitting outside the country. Canadian housing market is open to buying by anyone in the world by putting the highest bid. Whereas a foreigner needs a visa to enter Canada, buying a house just needs money. Now normally people do invest internationally in housing markets, but if numbers are low, it does not impact the prices that much. But in Canada's special case, buyers are from the most populous country in the world, which has about 40 times the population of Canada. These are mainland Chinese citizens, which are in millionaires category. And they have very high number of millionaires in China, thanks to owning all the manufacturing plants of all the products that we consume, starting from a needle to a ship and everything in between. So what started in 2002 has been continuing unabated as we speak in 2021. That's 19 years and it's going on. And it's continuing because our government is in it, as it helps them get re-elected and keep their job. So for the job security of a few hundred MPs and MLAs, they have driven millions of Canadians out of housing market. It discourages Canadians to have relationships, starting a family, growing a family, to pay for kids' sports activities, saving for the future, etc. Younger generation feels depressed of the future as no matter how hard they work, they can never buy a house where they work. Instead, they have to rent their entire life and pay very high rents to the foreign investors who bought Canadian houses and renting them back to Canadians through property management companies which have sprung all over the place. So what's the solution? Various provinces and cities have come up with Mickey Mouse solutions as the Canadians made some noise from time to time. Things like a little extra tax when a foreigner buys a house, making house owners not to leave house empty but rent it out, etc. have been done, like in BC. But they don't deal with the real problem directly, hence they are ineffective. They don't deter foreigners at all. Only thing it does is fill the coffers of the governments so they can balance their budgets and again try to get re-elected on that basis. It also keeps governments fully funded at our expense. It absolutely does nothing for Canadians. The solution for this zero affordability problem is simple. Canadian government is of, by and for the people. We need to implement for part, which is often forgotten. Canada is for Canadians. We need to stop selling our housing to foreigners, period. Only Canadians can buy a house and land in Canada, that's all. This will bring prices to a level that truly reflects Canadian supply and Canadian demand. This is true capitalism. Instead, we are getting corrupt capitalism where supply is local but demand is foreign. They both have to origin from the same place for a proper match. If we rid of this corruption, Canadians living in and working in Canada can afford based upon their incomes. If their income goes up, house price goes up proportionately and vice versa. And why would government change the rules? They will, if they know that they will be voted out of the government if they don't. So we Canadians need to get together and demand of our government to actually work for us and not foreign interest. Government is paid decent salary and benefits to work in our best interest. So they need to start doing that. If other Canadians agree with this, please express yourself, discuss it. We will start a movement and get it done. There are many ways to ask our government to do the right thing. One is online petition. If enough people sign the petition, it will be debated in the parliament. Whole nation will be watching which parliamentarian takes which stand, which political party takes which stand. Do they stand for Canadians or against Canadians? Opposition party has every incentive to take up the cause if current ruling party does not. Either way, if every Canadian is aware of it and government knows that people are aware of it, it will be changed. It has to be changed. Let's not underestimate our collective democratic power. Thanks for listening.